So I just want to share some historical proof now for Jesus, so that you can be assured that you can trust in Jesus, the Jesus of the Bible. Christianity started from eyewitness accounts of Jesus raising from the dead. Jesus was seen by over 500 eyewitnesses at once when he rose from the grave. Christianity spread very, very quickly through the Middle East, Asia, Europe, Africa, and the rest of the world after Jesus rose from the grave. The first historical proof for Jesus is the four Gospels. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are the first four books of the New Testament of the Bible and testify of the life and ministry of Jesus Christ. The Gospels are believed to have been written between 66 to 110 AD, which is approximately 36 to 80 years after Jesus was crucified. That means within a generation of Jesus being crucified, we had various documented accounts of the life and ministry of Jesus Christ. The second historical proof for Jesus is the letter of the apostles. Okay, so there's 12 to 13 letters written by Apostle Paul to various churches in the first century. And then we've also got the book of James, who was the brother of Jesus, the first bishop of Jerusalem. We've got the letters of Jude, who was also the brother of Jesus. And then we've got the remaining letters of the apostles, which include the 1st and 2nd Peter, the epistles of John, the book of Revelation, which was written by the apostle John. And the New Testament has a total of 27 books of historical proof for Jesus, and was written approximately 50 to 120 AD. The New Testament documents Jesus' fulfillment of over 300 prophecies and typologies written hundreds to thousands of years earlier in the Old Testament of the Bible. That's right, Jesus came and fulfilled over 300 prophecies of the long-awaited Jewish Messiah, praise God, written in the Old Testament. The New Testament proves Jesus was the long-awaited Jewish Messiah. The third historical proof for Jesus is the writings of the early church fathers. The early church fathers' writings also testify of the life and ministry of Jesus. The earliest writings of the early church fathers were in the late 1st and 2nd century, early 2nd century AD. And the earliest surviving epistle from a church father is the first epistle of Clement, which dates to around 96 AD. The early church fathers, also known as the Apostolic Fathers or the Ante-Nicene Fathers, were Christian theologians who were believed to have known or been influenced by the 12 apostles. Some of the early church fathers include Clement of Rome, Ignatius of Antioch, Polycarp of Smyrna, Justin Martyr, Irenaeus of Lyons, Tertullian of Carthage, Clement of Alexandria or Origen of Alexandria. The Gospels and remaining epistles of the New Testament, along with the early church fathers' writings, provided irrefutable documented historical evidence of the life and ministry of Jesus Christ. So that's three historical proofs I've given. I'll give you the fourth historical proof now for Jesus. Okay, there's what's called the Gnostic Gospels. Okay, they were written towards the end of the 2nd century and are regarded by Christians as heretical books. Okay, with false teachings on who Jesus is, but nonetheless they testify of the life and ministry of Jesus Christ. The fact that the Gnostic Gospels distort the view on who Jesus is adds further evidence, as we know these authors were not Christians and they testified of the life and ministry of Jesus. In other words, we have proof of heretical breakaway sects who also testify of the life and ministry of Jesus. Some of the Gnostic Gospels include the Apocryphon of John, the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Philip, the Hypostasis of Archons, on the origins of the world, the Exegesis on the soul, the Book of Thomas the Contender. Okay, the reason I state that, folks, is that there's so many different historical evidences, even by people who are not Christians, testifying of the life and ministry of Jesus. The fifth historical proof for Jesus is the Roman Emperor Constantine. Okay, he was known as Constantine the Great, and he was the Roman Emperor from AD 306 to 337, and the first Roman Emperor to convert to Christianity. He played a pivotal role in elevating the status of Christianity in Rome, decriminalizing Christian practice and ceasing Christian persecution in a period referred to as the Constantine Shift. Many believe that Constantine's conversion to Christianity was merely a plot to hijack Christianity, and its message of love and forgiveness in Jesus threatened the very power of the Roman Empire. But regardless of the legitimacy of Constantine's conversion, we can see within just 2 centuries of the life of Jesus that Christianity was a thriving religion based off eyewitness accounts of the resurrection of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, impacting even on the emperor of the Roman Empire. The 6th historical proof for Jesus is the writings of Cephas. Cephas was a non-Christian Jewish historian who lived in the 1st century. Cephas testified of the life and ministry of Jesus Christ. Cephas recorded the great Jewish revolt, including the siege of Masada. His most important works were the Jewish War, the Antiquities of the Jews. The Jewish War recounts the Jewish revolt against the Roman occupation. Antiquities of the Jews recounts the history of the world from a Jewish perspective for an apparently Greek and Roman audience. These works provide insight into the 1st century Judaism and the background of early Christianity. Josephus's works are the chief chief source next to the Bible for the history and antiquity of ancient Israel, and provide an independent extra-biblical account of such figures as Pontius Pilate, Herod the Great, John the Baptist, James the brother of Jesus, and Jesus of Nazareth. Okay, so we've got a Jewish historian in the 1st century. He wasn't a Christian. He testified of the life of Jesus, the life and ministry of Jesus, and that was the 6th historical proof that I'll provide to you today, that Jesus is not a made-up person, he's not a made-up character, he's not a fairy tale, he's historically proven to be a real person. The 7th historical proof for Jesus is the writings of the Talmud. The Talmud is, after the Hebrew Bible, the central text of Rabbinic Judaism and the primary source of Jewish religious law and Jewish theology. The Talmud is a collection of 63 written scholarly works in Hebrew and Aramaic. It's a record of rabbinic debates about the Torah and is the primary source of the Jewish law, religious law. Okay, so the Talmud is made up of 2 parts, the Mishnah and the Gemara, and the Talmud was compiled between the 3rd and the 6th century AD. The Talmud began as an oral tradition, but Jewish rabbis started writing it down after the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 AD. The Talmud also testifies of the life and ministry of Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Okay, so in the Talmud you've got Jewish leaders between, they were speaking about Jesus, the life and his ministry. They don't refute that Jesus was a real person. They just refute that he was not the Messiah, that he got what he deserved when he was crucified. So the Jewish Talmud, they accept and they prove also that Jesus was a real person, folks. There's so much historical proof for Jesus that I deliver to you today, folks. The 8th historical proof for Jesus is the fact that Christians died and suffered for their faith after seeing Jesus resurrected. Many Christians were willing to suffer and die, and many of them died on their belief that Jesus, that he rose from the grave. Stephen was the first martyr in the New Testament, and he was stoned by the Sanhedrin for blasphemy, recorded in the book of Acts, what they deemed to be blasphemy. Peter and Paul were martyred toward the end of the 1st century according to tradition. James, the brother of John, was recorded in the book of Acts as being killed by King Herod with the sword. Antipas, traditions record that Antipas was martyred during the reign of Nero or Domitian sometime between 54 to 68 AD by burning in a brazen bull-shaped altar for casting out demons worshipped by the local population. Okay, so why would so many Christians die for their faith if it was made up? If they were lying and conspiring and making up a fake religion, why would they die for their faith? Why would they die for a lie? Why would they die